Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing. In our business, there is no second place. Either you're first or you're last.
It was named after Vince Lombardi. You play in Green Bay. As important as it is to any other team, it means more to us.
When he walked into the meeting, he looked us right in the eye. He said, "Gentlemen, we're going to relentlessly chase perfection."
My first thought was, on any play with my arm strength, I may not let anybody know this, but my first thought was home run. On every play. On every play.
He did what?
Fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
Welcome back to the Packers Corner. We've brought out the old Beta Boys graphics here for a little extra luck. We'll see if that pays dividends. Obviously, suffering a tough defeat at the hands of the Denver Broncos here. Schmity, you and I predicted this. You said you might be taking a bath with the toaster here. I'm glad to see you here and present with us today. We're pretty happy to have you. What kept you away from taking such drastic action here?
An extension cord or a power outlet close enough to the tub. That's the only reason I'm here, Griffey. It was a horrendous performance. I shouldn't be here right now. By the grace of God, by the design of this building, I'm still alive. That's it.
Holy smokes. Wow. Well, we'll have to work on some rehabilitation there. You weren't expecting a win, so I'm glad that you had reasonable expectations for one of our other guests here, my father. You thought wholeheartedly the Packers would be able to go in there and get things done against the lowly Broncos. What are your initial thoughts after having gone through what we just went through this past week?
Well, Schmity said last week that the Packers were not going to win another game all year.
And you laughed at him.
And I did. And I said, but if they don't win this one, I might be right there with you, Schmity. And I've looked at the next 6 games. We got the Vikings, the Rams, the Steelers, the Chargers, maybe, the Lions at the Lions, and the Chiefs. You could very well be looking at, 2-10 or whatever. So they're not going to fool me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I won't be picking the Packers again until they prove it to me, and I'm thoroughly disgusted. And we can get into the details. I'm mostly disgusted. There are a lot of Jordan Love, what should I say, semi-haters or down on Jordan. I'm not really that down on Jordan. I'm terribly down on the coach. This coach has been out-schemed. He's had 2 weeks to prepare to get something going. I'll just launch into it here. How in the world, with the season on the line, is Aaron Jones not on the field for every play late in the game? It is the damnedest thing. What are you saving him for? I watched the San Francisco 49er game last night, and McCaffrey's coming off injury. He played every frickin' play in the game because you got to get a win. And so LaFleur has showed major errors in judgment over a long period of time, going all the way back to the 4th and 8th call in the NFC Championship against Tampa Bay, which is an egregious error of judgment. He's kept his special teams coaches, which didn't deserve to be there. He kept Joe Barry. Now he refuses to play Aaron Jones. He's got no offense, no plan, no nothing. They're the worst team in the first half in the entire NFL. And thank God Jordan Love comes to life and overcomes the coaching and shows us some flashes at least. So I guess that's it. I'll be quiet for a little while, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Oh, you got a little bit of catharsis, a little bit of labor off your chest there.
We didn't have the 2-week cooling off period this time before the podcast, so you get the full.
I do want to remind you, you brought up the Vikings game last night. We saw the Minnesota Vikings go out there and defeat the 49ers. We saw the Detroit Lions, of course, get shellacked by the Ravens. We saw the Bears go and shellack the Raiders with their second string quarterback. I think this is a league of ups and downs, and it just felt ripe for the Packers to get taken down by the Broncos. So I went ahead and picked them last week. However, I think this is the low point, and you see we're in the quad box tonight here. I want to bring in the fourth member of the crew here tonight. Derek, give us some room for optimism. Do you have anything for us that might give us some hope?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna maybe save the more extreme optimism for a little bit later in the show, but you guys all hit on some good points, except for Schmity. But Gar and Griff both hit on some really good points. Like you just mentioned, the NFL is a weird league. We saw it, just a example of it this weekend. Um, a few of us kind of felt the Vikings were going to win that game. They haven't won a home game. Unfortunately, it's hard to admit, but they have a really good home field advantage. So they utilized that last night. The Bears, that was weird. The Lions losing by 5 touchdowns. That kind of stuff happens. Denver and Green Bay were both kind of due for a win, and so it's who's going to get it. Like both teams were underperforming, in my opinion. And then Gar, you made a good point, kind of going after the coach. I think we're on the same page there. That's definitely by far my biggest disappointment this year is what is going on with the coaching. We're unorganized. We're too conservative. The first half of this year, in I think almost every game, maybe not the Bears game, but the first halves have just been inexplicably bad. That's when you're supposed to be the most prepared. You're scripting your plays so that they flow together one after another. Like you're game planning this time for 2 weeks at a time. For this one game, just for those first 10 plays, and we get 0 points in the first half. Um, it's I don't know. Love, maybe we can blame the coach a lot right now, and hope that that gets better and Love gets better. I think Love he's doing fine. It's his first year playing as the starter. The stats aren't as bad as it look. He's gonna lose it here before the end of the show, I think.
Are you crying, Schmitty?
I think he's
It's the next 10 years. Matt LaFleur has no business being the coach. Maybe we can take him out of there. Rich Bisaccia can Jeff Saturday of the world. I'd rather see him in the head seat right now. This is really bad, Griffey. You got a team. You had 15 days to script something, and nothing to show for it. Nothing to absolutely show for it. And I swear to God, if any of you come to his defense, come to the Packers' defense, 17 points in the second half. We all saw the graphic. 17.4 points in the second half. We lead the NFL. I'm going to be sick. That we should have lost by 12, 13 points yesterday. It's horrendous. This whole thing's coming to an end.
One mini
Cut Aaron
excuse.
Jones. Get rid of Aaron Jones. Let him go to a team that's actually going to use him. Okay. Please don't sign Rashawn Gary. Let that guy go play some good football somewhere else because we don't deserve him. And you know who else we didn't deserve? We didn't deserve Aaron Rodgers. We'd be 4-2 right now if we had Aaron Rodgers, number 12 at the helm. But that man hid so many inefficiencies by the Green Bay Packers for years. Guys were cutting checks for a long time on the back of number 12. It's so sad to see him go. But guess what? Now it exposes the whole kit and caboodle. Now it's time to see some heads roll. And guess what? I'm here for it, baby. I cannot wait.
Schmitty, I want to get your thoughts on the fact that Jordan Love is outperforming Aaron Rodgers in EPA per play as well as QBR. When you look at the advanced analytics there, he's been a step up for us. Do you have any thoughts on that?
We're seeing the same stuff, aren't we? I can pull any stat. Aaron Rodgers is 1-0 in the Super Bowl. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Okay, that's a good stat. That's 100% in Super Bowls. Okay. Anyone can pull stats. That pick at the end of the game, what does that get him? Gets us another loss. Inexcusable pass down the field.
That was
double
LaFleur's
coverage.
fault.
The game's over. It's LaFleur's fault?
Yeah, he called that play.
LaFleur's fault for the game?
What do you attribute the
Did you watch the post-game conference
between the first half and the second half, Schmitty? We've seen Jordan Love go out there and put points up on the board in the second half. We've seen him bring us down from 17 points against the New Orleans Saints, and you were in tears of joy on that episode.
So sick with myself. I should have never done that.
But don't you think we're going to have some ups and downs with the young quarterback?
He's playing next year, Griffey, and he's gone. By any divine hope, we get the first or second pick of the draft this year, and we win the Caleb Williams lottery. This is all over. Get a new coach too.
Well, Dad, I think you came in kind of almost right there with me. Maybe not quite right there. I don't know if anyone's right there. But you were on a bit of a sour note there, of course. Can you take us back on a stroll through memory lane, what things were like in Aaron Rodgers' first year at the helm?
Well, Aaron Rodgers had us at 5-5, 500 record with what, 16 game season. So 6 games to go, and we proceeded to lose 5 games in a row to go 5-10. And we won the last game that year to finish a swashbuckling 6-10. So it wasn't looking so good at times with him either. Now, I hate to try to argue a lot with Schmity because I'm pretty upset with the coaching and I'm pretty upset with the way that things are going, but I'm not that upset with Jordan Love. Some of the statistics on him are really interesting. He's like the worst QBR in the first half and the best in the second half. So he's having to overcome a lot of things that, I'll just say for perspective, let's take a little deep breath here. You guys aren't old enough to remember this, but this last game reminded me a lot of watching the Packers in the 80s. And I remember being a young guy about the age you guys are now and thinking, God, we always get jobbed by the refs. There's always one call that blows it for us. And you can go through all that in this game. The holding call on Jenkins was terrible. There was a terrible interference call missed on the first drive down the left sideline there. The kicker misses a 43-yarder. And all these things look different with one play. But the fact of the matter is that our coaches and rookies have not been good enough to overcome the bad call here or there, because that's where the real problem is. We got guys jumping off sides at the wrong time. We still got guys running the route in the same place. And so I am terribly frustrated with LaFleur right now, and I put most of it at his feet. But Jordan Love needs time to see where he's at. I'm not guaranteeing he's the guy, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he doesn't continue to grow and show us some upside play. And one thing they really need right now that I would agree with Schmity on. Yes, Aaron Rodgers covered up a lot of flaws by adjusting plays and by making things work, but we need one veteran guy for Jordan Love to trust. Who do you think Aaron Rodgers could trust out there? Good Lord, even Romeo Doubs drives me crazy at times. He makes good plays one time, the next time he drops the ball, the bounces off of his hands, and we get lucky to Jaden Reed to get it. So just a lot of inconsistency, young players that I know would drive Aaron Rodgers up the wall. And unfortunately, the deal with Aaron Rodgers is, Schmidt, he can't play till he's 50. I mean, we got to move on. And maybe you're right. Maybe we get Caleb Williams. But I would say, how about Marvin Harrison instead of Caleb Williams? Now we got something for guys to work with. So little perspective there. This is kind of like 80s Packers football.
If I was going to have one thing that I certainly could criticize Jordan Love for, it's been the accuracy of some of these deep balls. He's really missed poorly on a few. We certainly saw the throw that ended the game to Samori Toure. He missed short into the inside on a throw that you can't do that. We've also had some issues with young receivers not battling back towards those footballs where it's going to be an obvious pass interference too. So that's my one bit of criticism. I don't want to be all rainbows and unicorns when I talk about Jordan Love, but I've seen enough to make me encouraged. And you did at one point too, Schmitty, as we saw on your now infamous crying in jubilation YouTube short here. So, Derek, I want to get your take just in general. What's been the difference between the first and second half performances? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it just in the first half we're being way too conservative. We're not, and just not executing. I mean, as we've already covered, I don't think Love is even in the top two to blame. Like, obviously, I think coaching is for sure number one. And number two, it's these young receivers not running the right routes, not making the right reads, not being in the right spots. Um, I I don't know if maybe like they're talking stuff over in at halftime and being like, hey, they're showing this coverage, this is what we went over during the week, like, because they probably cover multiple scenarios, and then the first half happens and they see more of something than they saw on film and kind of make the adjustments. That if that's the case, that's a great coaching bright spot, I guess. Um,
I don't know
so
whether to be encouraged or discouraged by the
yeah,
Jekyll and Hyde. Like it's
right,
clear that they're capable of a higher level of execution, but why can't you bring that out? I don't know. If they had the answer, I'm sure they would fix it too by now. But I can't remember a more stark example in the
right.
history of football between a first and second half team, and it's been on repeat here to start the season.
Right. I think it'd be nice to know, I mean, get a little bit more information on what's going on with some of the injuries. Like Aaron Jones is like clearly, are we like just trying to like play for the future and be like, hey, we're gonna push AJ Dillon because he'll be our guy. Aaron's getting a little old, or is
I sure
Aaron
hope not.
actually like injured? Because if Aaron's actually injured and he's on a pitch count, like I guess that kind of makes sense. But a pitch count with a hamstring at a running back position, it's like it should be all or nothing. I feel like you're either good to go or you're not. Like receivers can kind of take plays off. Like we've seen that before, but it doesn't make sense for Jones to get, I think he had 5 carries maybe. Um, or something like AJ Dillon had more than double the carries than Aaron Jones. So that's something I don't understand because Aaron Jones with this young team, he needs to be a focal point for Jordan Love. Another weird thing, which Ben kind of brought it up in the group chat during the game, and I kind of had been thinking about it throughout the weeks as well, is like it seems like we're not throwing the ball downfield. Like Jordan Love just throws it a few yards downfield, like a lot of screen plays, short passes. But then they put up that stat in the first half that Love's actually averaging the most air yards per attempt. I'm not sure if there's some kind of weird way they're skewing that stat, or if it's just because he throws those deep balls that are either intercepted or they land 10 feet or 10 yards on the ground, either left of the receiver, behind the receiver, over the receiver. Like all those deep balls, like almost none of them are being caught. So maybe that's what's bringing the average up, but it doesn't seem like we're throwing the ball downfield. I'd like to see a lot more medium routes and maybe the less double coverage deep balls and less screens. But I don't know.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not the
it's
coach.
partly the dichotomy between the first and second half. So I think the optics of the first half are clearly they super tentative, a lot of short throws, a lot of what we saw with Aaron Rodgers last year, frankly. And they've been pushing it down the field in the second half is where those numbers come from. Partly because they've been behind. But you do make a point; those intermediate throws have been lacking, and they've also been lacking pushing the ball over the middle of the field, which is something that Aaron Rodgers was always sort of hesitant to do. It's a little bit more of a dangerous throw. You're going to have higher rates of interceptions and so forth. But it's something that we've seen the potent offenses in the NFL do a lot of, particularly the Dolphins this year. They put up 70 points against the Broncos. But Jordan Love has been fairly reticent to throw the ball across the middle of the field for whatever that's worth as well. Schmity, I want to get your feelings on a little bit of lighter subject. Were you tuned in for the Vikings Niners game? And did you have any thoughts on how fake the Yeller horn looked? Did you see any of that?
Oh, that was brutal, man. They should just burn that thing and tip it out of the glass on the backside of the ship. That's an awful thing. The skull chant. It's all fugazi. I hate that so much. I hate it all so much, Griffey. I gotta unfortunately gotta go to more Vikings games in a season than I do Packers games. We're right on the first row of the third story. I'm just gonna jump off, I think, at one of these games next coming weeks. So I'm excited for that. Maybe this will be one of the last Packers corners with me. So get excited. You can bring
That would be
Derek in full
unfortunate
time.
because we're about to go on a run.
Thank you, Derek.
Oh,
That is.
Griffey, yeah, segue into the next segment so I can eviscerate him.
Let's talk
Go into the
about
next
what's
segment,
next.
Griffey.
Well, of course, we have the Vikings matchup. Derek and I are going to bear the torch for the Green Bay Packers over there in Lambeau Field here. in under a week's time now. Hollow weekend, we got the spooky weekend. Anything can happen that way coming up here. I think the feel and everything is ripe for the Packers to go make a statement against the Minnesota Vikings. They're saying Christian Watson has a chance to play. I, for whatever reason, am ready for the Packers to rebound. I think we've hit the low point. This is the trough. This is the low point in the career of Jordan Love. And this is coming from someone who predicted us to lose to the historically bad Denver Broncos and their pitiful defense. I think we make these adjustments that have held us back in the first half. I think we cut Jordan Love loose and we say, if you're going to go out there and get us buried in the first half because you're pushing the ball down the field and turning it over, so be it. But they're going to free him up, and he's not going to let us down. That's my take. I'm excited to go see it. Dad, do I have any room for believing that we could get it done against the Vikings? I just remember our last matchup against the Vikings at Lambeau Field with a quarterback who wasn't playing particularly well, and it went pretty well for us.
So we have two coaches, Joe Barry and Matt LaFleur, who are bordering on idiotic when it comes to adjustments. It took Joe Barry 11 games last year to let Jair follow the best receiver around and figure that one out when the rest of us had it figured out at halftime of the Viking game. Matt LaFleur came out in 11 personnel against Denver and was shocked to see, 3 wide receivers on the field, was going to try to run the ball against dime and nickel, that Denver stayed in base. And he took a whole half to figure out that Denver was tempting him to throw against their base because he didn't believe he was going to do it. And he's just slow to make adjustments. He is slow to make the proper decisions. He never should have kept Joe Barry. You're getting me right in my zone here about Matt LaFleur. And I would ask this group right now, if tomorrow you could get Jim Harbaugh to coach this team, would you take it? Because I think I'm ready for somebody who will make us no longer a soft team along the defensive line, along the offensive line, and the running game. And as crazy as Jim Harbaugh is, this is where I am. Bring the man from Michigan over, who the NCAA won't leave alone, and let's get him to make the Packers a bunch of tough-minded football players, because we are a soft bunch who can't make adjustments, who don't believe in our coaches, and we are suffering from pitiful coaching right now. And that's where I'm at.
How about
And
Joe
I'm not
Barry
gonna be
holding?
back to beat anybody until they show me they can.
How about Joe Barry holding 4 of our first 6 opponents to 20 points or less? Anything to be said for that?
Except that every time we've gotten a lead and needed a stop to get off the field, I mean, this whole thing could look a lot different if you hold up against Oakland, if a couple guys don't drop the ball, if you don't let them score the touchdown to go ahead 17-13, if in this game, at the end of the game, we don't get the holding call on Jenkins and Love scrambles down to the 40-yard line and we make another play or two and get that kick. So we're just that close, but our coaches aren't helping us. So I just have a hard time believing that this young team is going to be able to get it done without some better coaching. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope Matt LaFleur recovers. I hope he proves me wrong. But I have seen enough now to where I won't pick it until I see it happening. So I just, and you know me, I'm a glass half full guy all the time. This is as negative as I think I've been about the Packers since Randy Wright was playing quarterback.
Well, you're a glass half full guy. Schmity's more of a toaster, fully submerged type of a guy. Schmity, what are your preliminary thoughts on our matchup against the Vikings here?
Join me on the dark side, my friend. It's so much better over here. Uh, Hopefully, Griffey, your buddy number 9, Christian Watson. Hopefully, he goes as the Johnsonville bathroom attendant out in the front of the field and stays there and never comes back. Hopefully, he dresses up as him. I would really appreciate that. The Packers didn't allow a sack on Sunday. They held the Broncos to 19 points. Broncos are an absolute abysmal team, and we lose to them. What does that say about us? It's more telling about the offensive product that we're putting out on the field, and that goes right back to MLF. And As long as this is going to continue, and we're on this path, this descending path, it's all culture, it's all accountability. We have none. It all leads back to MLF, and as long as I think he's the head coach, we're in for a very dark time. On Sunday, what do I predict? The Vikings are a very ascending team. They looked really good. They looked really good last night. So much so that they're going to roll us by 24 points, Griffey. We don't stand a chance, and not that 24 points. It's going to be 24-0, 27-3. We have nothing, Griffey. We have nothing going for us on the offensive side of the ball. I can't wait. I got a notification as soon as they post the line for the game. I'm going to hammer the Vikings. I'm going to take my whole net worth and put it all on the Vikings, and you should too.
Schmity, I'm going to caution you right now. Don't do it. Don't do it. Derek, what are your thoughts on the Vikings matchup this weekend? First of all, we're going to be there. Let's talk about that. What do we have to do? What is required of us to change the feeling, as fans, will this team to victory? Do you have any game plans for us? We're going to get there on Saturday. What do we have to get done over on the east side of the state?
All right, so the keys for Sunday is, as you said, we're getting there Saturday afternoon probably. It's looking like the weather's going to shift quite a bit coming Friday night, Saturday. We're getting a 25-degree drop, so we're getting some good Lambeau Field weather. So Saturday night, we're going to, explore the town a little bit. We're going to watch the Badgers take care of business against Ohio State at home. Night game at Camp Randall, celebrate that a little bit. And then Sunday morning, we're going to get up nice and early. We're going to pump it up. We're going to have, some beers by the stadium, and, we might see some Viking fans there, probably mostly Packer fans. But if we see any Vikings fans, let's, be neighborly. Let's feed them some drinks, feed them some, shots and some beers, challenge them to some drinking contests. But actually only drink water when you challenge them, get them a little tipsy. Maybe they're not going to make it into the stadium and, not going to be able to make any noise. Then once we're in the stadium, we got to focus on making a lot of noise on defense and then being real quiet on offense. We saw how important that can be with the Vikings a few weeks ago. Their crowd was making a little too much noise when they were on offense at the last minute of the game, and Kirk couldn't get the play in, and, pretty much lost the game there because the fans making noise when they're not supposed to be. But for the game prediction, what I got right here, this is a pre-celebratory drink, because the Packers are taking care of business and we are going on a run. Like Griff said, we have already hit the low point. I am looking at the schedule. I'm seeing 3 wins in a row. We're going to be 5-4. We are going to slip up against the Chargers at home, and then we're going to set up for a big game on Thanksgiving morning to take control of the NFC North. And then from there, it's, schedule gets easy. We're finishing 11-6. 11-6. We're turning it around, and Schmity's going to have to watch it while he's cheering for the Vikings and Bears.
Well, we've got this recorded for time ongoing here, time immemorial. You guys look pretty shocked there in the center portion of the screen. Schmity, don't hold it in any longer. Please say something. I don't want you to hurt yourself.
You have some dignity left.
Holy smokes! This has been a tumultuous podcast. I didn't know what we were walking into here this evening. We've got opinions all across the board. Dad, I think I know where you're gonna fall here, but just break us or walk us through how you think the game's gonna go here on Sunday.
Well, I think we found Carl Gerbschmidt's alter ego with Schmity here, and I'm with Schmity on some of the negativity, which isn't my usual posture to be in, and I hope I'm wrong, but I just have to let Derek know that after the Lions, when he said the schedule lightens up, we play the Chiefs.
Oh, that's
So
at home though. We'll take care of business. I'll be at
that's
that
it.
game. T
I
Swift's gonna
love the
distract
I
everybody
just
on their team.
I love the optimism, Derek, but we're going to lose to the Vikings 27. There's no way. 27-24. We'll hang in there, but you can't pick this bunch over Kirk Cousins. And it's even without Justin Jefferson, but that kid they got from USC, man alive, does he look like he has something going on. So I hope I'm wrong. I don't know if we're going to win any one of the next 6 games. I would say if we win one of them, it might be the Chargers game. I don't see the Steelers on the road. I don't see the Rams. I don't see it. But hey, I'm all for you guys to go to Lambeau, bring us back a victory. Boy, you would tickle me to death. It would be the greatest thing ever. But I'm not. I am. I have stuck up for Matt LaFleur for a long time, and I can no longer abide it. I've seen enough. It's like, to me, a scientific study. We have enough data in now. We have a large enough N in our study group of situations to pull from to see that this guy is not getting it done. And so I dreadfully hope that I dearly hope that I'm wrong, but I don't think so. I think I have to be a scientific thinking guy here and say that we're in a little trouble. So we'll see what happens. You guys try and bring us a victory. 27-24. Vikes will get it done with Kirk Cousins being the factor at the end of the game.
We have the winningest coach of all time to begin his NFL career. We have a defensive coordinator who absolutely shut down Justin Jefferson a year ago at Lambeau Field. Jordan Addison is not going to be any trouble for us. We have Christian Watson, who might have a chance to make the return. Even if he doesn't, we got two great young guys in Romeo Dobbs and Jaden Reed. We get average play out of Jordan Love, and we win by a score or two. We get the best game of Jordan Love's young career, and I think we have a 3-score game. I'm looking forward to celebrating this one. We'll have a post-celebratory drink here, Derek, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm celebrating mentally right now. I don't think I'm quite there to be having any drinks on a work night here, but I'll make up for it on Sunday evening here. I think we're gonna have a heck of a time over there in Lambeau Field.
Well said.
And
Very
Derek's
well
on
said.
board with the Packers, but I think we need a new segment on the show called the Toaster Coefficient. Now, a toaster coefficient of 1 would be indicative of a 27-0 game. 1.0 means we need to get all the extension cords out of Schmitty's house because we love Schmitty and we need them. We need you here, Schmitty, for balance. So
We sure
we're
do.
gonna we're gonna get those toasters taken care of, buddy, and it's gonna be
Schmitty,
okay. In the long run, we're gonna be okay.
can you imagine with me, Schmitty? Well, where do you think you would be in a mental state if we're here a week from today, talking about a triumphant victory for the Green Bay Packers? Just if you imagine a world where that happens, could you preempt what your reaction might look like a week from now if that were to come to pass?
Griffey, I am in the dark, deep depths of the water. Okay, I've already submersed myself in a lot of sadness. Okay, I'm ready for the worst. Nothing. I'm so far below the ground. Not even a 31-0 Packer win on Sunday is going to get me to rise from the water. Okay, let me see some really cool stuff. Some efficiency, some balls down the field from our friend 10. Let me see some really cool things out of MLF. Some play calls, some gadgetry. Let me see it all, and you might see my head peek out of the water come, I don't know, Thanksgiving.
Oh man. Quite an evening here tonight, guys. I want to give you all a chance to wrap things up with some closing thoughts here. But I've certainly enjoyed breaking it down, a roller coaster of emotions here. Dad, any final thoughts to leave us with?
I would just reiterate that you guys haven't experienced this as Packer fans, but it was a deep, dark area of fandom to be in from 1972 until 1989 when Magic Man had us winning quite a few games in exciting fashion there. The year we went 10-6 and won 4 or 5 games on the last play of the game and missed the playoffs, by the way, that year because we didn't have enough wild cards. But so we're in a little down period here, but things will come around. We need to crouch behind a rock, get organized. I don't know if the coach is going to survive all this or not. I certainly have made it clear that I'm not very happy with what he's been doing, but maybe he'll come around. He's done some good things with Aaron Rodgers, but I'm not going to believe it till I see it. So, but we are fans. We'll be right here next week breaking it down. Hopefully things look a lot different. I won't be surprised if Schmity still has 2 nostrils below the water, but without a toaster over there. We'll get him back here next week, get him some scuba gear and keep him upright so we can get back on track somewhere down the line.
Do you have a few closing words for the viewers here, Schmitty?
As long as the offensive line keeps Jordan Love upright, I just want to be able to rule out the offensive line. If the offensive line can keep stout like they did on Sunday, I'll be really impressed. And Lord have mercy, do we need Jair back in a bad way and have number 33 touch the ball 15 times? And maybe, just maybe, you have a chance.
Derek?
Yeah, I'll try to make this quick. Schmitty did a little bit more positive twist there compared to his earlier, so I'll do a little bit more negative twist. Bring it back down closer to equal. Um, I think, kind of back to the coaching. I think this team has a lot of talent, but we're not putting it together. And I also just kind of the feel of it watching the games. We don't feel like a team out there right now. We're you're not playing for the guy standing next to you in the huddle. Like that, we got to get that, and then we can maybe turn in some more W's. Um, on a positive note, we are a couple plays away from being 4-2 right now. It's not that bad. We got a favorable schedule. I know we got the Chiefs and we got the Lions and on the road against Pittsburgh, but you know, aside from that, we have a lot of winnable games. We got to, take care of business at home against the Vikings. This is a big one. Um, yeah, and health, like Jair. We need Jair back. I know Griff's been bringing up Christian Watson. I do not care about Christian Watson at all. He has not shown me anything in the 1.5 years. He's made out of glass. I just he's not that important in my opinion. I like Romeo. I like Jaden Reed a lot. Musgrave, if he can, put his nose in the playbook and focus, like he's got some talent. I like him. Um, Aside from the mental side of it so far. And Schmitty, the line that I am seeing is the Packers are +1 right now. I think they were -1 about 24 hours ago. They're already to +1. I'm going to guess this closes at about +2.5 for the Packers. I think there's going to be a lot of public money on the Vikings. And you know what that means. It's time for the Packers to get a W.
I love it. Well, thank you guys for joining us here. I'm excited to head eastwardly with you here, Derek. Hope you guys have a good night. Take care.
Love you guys.
Have a good weekend, boys.
Enjoy yourselves, guys.